And did you come to this decision earlier this year in the lead up to the budget, or?
But listen to how pathetic this question is. It was when you were thinking about the budget. It's like, you're awesome, mate. You are the best question asker out there in the pack. That sounded so corporate. That's the corporate media there, guys. Anyway, let's listen to some more and I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you.
Today I'm announcing that I'll be stepping down as Premier and as member for Rockingham.
G'day guys, welcome to another Hang Loose Recluse production. As we listen to Mark McGowan in the background, I wanted to point out the questions that he received at his press conference. So it was a press conference of selective media. Now, Mark McGowan was retiring, but listen to the stupid questions that the selected press asked him. Not once was there any grilling of anything he's done in the past, and this and that. You know, there was no hard questions thrown at him. It was all just a soppy, go-with-the-flow story. So this is, typical mainstream media and all that sort of stuff. But there's some pathetic questions out there. Just have a listen to some of them. Anyway, here's some now. You're listening to another Hang Loose Recluse production.
I'm so grateful. I'll take some questions.
Was there a light bulb moment? I know you said you've been considering this for a while, but was there something specific?
Was there a light bulb moment? I know you said you've been considering this for a while. Was there something specific? That was said by Jeff Parry from Channel 7 News. 7 News.
Thanks, Jeff. Look, it sort of builds up over time. I didn't want to... I sort of worked out I didn't want to fight the next election. I'm just exhausted by it.
And the family aspects of it, you mentioned the fact that you missed out on a lot of that. Is that some sort of guilt that you want to try and make up for? Is that how you'll be spending the time now, a lot of family time?
Yeah. I don't know if I put it that way.
Now, this next question by Jeff Parry is pretty stupid. It's going on about family time. Is it family time, this and that? Such a nice, gentle, bring in the family question. Now, I guess Mark McGowan or Jeff Parry has even forgotten about what Mark McGowan enforced upon the population in order for them to go to work, and some people who didn't want to get it, who they couldn't understand, simply should have a choice within this country to say yes or no to a medical procedure. Unfortunately, those people were stood down from their jobs and denied income to provide for their families, Jeff Parry and Mark McGowan. So if this is about family stuff, think about that, Mark McGowan and Jeff Parry. Think about all the people that got stood down in this state by Mark McGowan's decision to say you must go and get this pointless thing in order to keep your job. Now, okay, all you believers, all you mainstream lovers and all that sort of stuff, think about this, Mr. Parry. Think about this, Mr. Parry. You're all for it because you went and said yes to it. But is there something that you would say no to that other people might say yes to, and if you were forced to do it, would you think differently? That is the big $1,000,000 question. Would you think differently? Of course you would. Not everybody was designed to just say yes when it said you have to have this, because it is about science, and there is no full, always 100% official science. This is it. This is beyond natural of who we are as a living organism. Have this. Quick, have this in order to keep your job. Think about that, Mr. Parry. And we all know that the forcefulness of them was pointless because they didn't prevent anything that had anything to do with it going to work. In the end, it turned out that there was no reason that any government or employer should have terminated everyday Australians' employment status and ability to work based on medical status. Anyway, that's me too, Bob's worth. Let's go listen back to these reporters' stupid questions and I'll play some more. Thank you.
I'm just exhausted by it.
And the family aspects of it, you mentioned the fact that you missed out on a lot of that. Is that some sort of guilt that you want to try and make up for? Is that how you'll be spending the time now, a lot of family time?
Yeah. I don't know if I put it that way. And there's a lot of people in FIFO or industry or whatever it might be who have much tougher lives than me, but now's as good a time as any.
So can you provide us any further detail on the timeline of this decision and what's next?
Can you provide us any further details on the timeline of this decision and what's next? That is a mainstream media, selected media person in that fucking room, and that's all they ask. They have Mark McGowan, who is just retiring, and that's it. His silly question of the week is, Can you provide us with further details of the timeline of this decision and what's next? You fucking imbecile. You have an opportunity to open up and ask if it was... Is there a reason why you're stepping down, Mark McGowan? Has it got anything to do with the Perth Mint saga? Has it got anything to do with the issues in Western Australia regarding forceful medical procedures? Is it anything to do with, you know, the stuff that went on with Clive Palmer and the fact that there's a lawsuit against you? Just ask some hard questions, you fucking useless journalist that went to university and become the media guy who become the media for the state. Ask some fucking questions. Anyway, let's go back to some more questions. Listen to these fuckwits.
I'll leave Parliament and leave the role by the end of this week.
Yep, because officially he's the head of the state, and he's been doing it for, 6 years now, and he has to get up there and just give 1 week's notice. I mean, come on, something's fishy about this. What is the bigger picture behind Mark McGowan standing up and retiring? There's got to be something more to it. Legally, he shouldn't be allowed to just give 1 week's notice. He's the head of the state. You can't just step down in 1 week. It's just like a full-time job. It's your job. You're getting paid the big bucks, mate. You can't just give us 1 week's notice. You've got to give us more notice than that. It's law. Anyway, yep, law unto themselves, typical friggin' premier of a state. Anyway, fuck politics and fuck the politicians. Thank you.
Once I'm rested and recuperated, I'll look for something else to do.
And did you come to this decision earlier this year in the lead up to the budget, or
So now these wanker journalists are just asking pathetic little nitty-gritty questions like, oh, was it when you were thinking of the budget? Was it when you were thinking of the budget? I mean, could you have asked the question, was it when you were thinking of what you did to the people when you forced them into a medical procedure? Was it when you were thinking about what was going on at the Perth Mint and the scandal when you went quiet for that whole week and didn't show your head because you just disappeared for a few days until you can get your story and your crap together because you couldn't face any hard questions then? Jeez, guys, if this is what the mainstream media is putting out there in their questions to people, I'll play it again.
And did you come to this decision earlier this year in the lead up to the budget, or...
But listen to how pathetic this question is. It was when you were thinking about the budget. It's like, you're awesome, mate. You are the best question asker out there in the pack. That sounded so corporate. That's the corporate media there, guys. Anyway, let's listen to some more and I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you.
And did you come to this decision earlier this year in the lead up to the budget, or...
Yeah, it was a few months ago, but I had to do the budget. You might recall I went to China, and it takes a little while to understand that and to get yourself used to it and make sure that you're prepared for what may come.
You say that you're tired. Who succeeds you as Premier and member for Rockingham?
I'm sorry, mate?
Do you have a preference for who succeeds you as Premier?
Yep, because every government press conference has to have a gender-neutral politician in there calling out questions because they need to have the gender neutrality, inclusiveness and all that bullshit that goes with it.
You say that you're tired. Who succeeds you as Premier and member for Rockingham?
I'm sorry, mate?
Do you have a preference for who succeeds you as Premier?
I'll leave that to my colleagues, and I'll leave that to the party.
You say that you're tired, you're burnt out. From our perspective, that doesn't, I've not seen any of that in the lead up. Where has that kind of been manifesting in your life? Like, how long has that been kind of dragging on you?
Well, I'm glad you didn't see it. No, I'm very pleased.
Anyway, I hope you liked the video and hope you got this far. I was having fun making it, but it is getting too bloody long and it's getting too bloody late. This has been another Hang Loose Recluse production, but just guys, go and check out and listen to the stupid, pathetic questions that these journalists asked. Because it was pathetic on their behalf. They have the floor was theirs, selectively theirs. And they let the state down and just asked the simple questions that were pre-written by their bosses. Anyway, this has been another Hang Loose Recluse production. Thank you.
Say that you're tired, you're burnt out. From our perspective, that doesn't, I've not seen any of that in the lead up. Where has that kind of been manifesting in your life? Like, how long has that been kind of dragging on you?
Well, I'm glad you didn't see it. I've hidden it well. Sleepless nights. Excess worry about things. But just being the Premier has... I'll tell you something, I'm not naturally confrontational. And the endless, being frustrated about things or issues or whatever it might be. Say farewell before I start showing it.
What words would you use to describe that almost 30 years? Like, how do you reflect that?
how would I describe it? It's been, I'm pretty much spent now, so I'll hand over to someone else.
How do you think you'll be remembered? How do you want to be remembered?
Someone who made the state stronger and better.
No, McGowan, you're going to be remembered as the bloke who forced people out of their jobs. In order to continue to go to work, you gave them an ultimatum. You gave them a medical procedure or no income. They had two choices, a medical procedure or no income. You must live with that. Some people died with that and the adverse reactions to it. Thank you. This has been another Hang Loose Recluse production.